So today we will be receiving the Jenang into white Vajrasattva with consort and yellow Vajrasattva. In order to receive this, there are two types of activities. First, the activities of the master, and then the activities of the student. The activities of the master include performing self-initiation, or self-generation as the deity, front generation of the deity, blessing each one of the vases for the two Jenangs, also offering tormas to the deities and offering tormas for the interfering spirits. These activities have been completed, preliminary activities by the master, and now it is time for the activities of the students. In terms of the activities of the students, we have first of all rinsing the mouth, then prostrations, and then offering the mandala. We have done the first two parts and we're on the third for the mandala. So for the mandala, first of all, we have to cast away any conception of ordinariness in terms of the hall, the room we're in. So we have to imagine that this is the palace of Bhagavan Vajrasattva and his deities, established out of the pristine wisdom of the deity. Also, we have to imagine that the whole assembly of deities with entourage, all the Buddhas, all the Bodhisattvas, all the objects of refuge are right here in front of us. Those who are participating, if you have received initiation before, you will be visualizing yourself as Vajrasattva. Also, for the purpose of this, of receiving this Jenang, we need to appreciate that the officiating Lama, the master of the ceremony, is one with the deity. That's because he has established self-generation and have a strong, clear appearance and divine pride as the deity. So with this in place, imagine that all the virtue that you have created in the past, the one that you are creating right now, the one that you will create in the future, so all the virtue of yourself, of the three times, the virtue of others, everything that we have and we enjoy and so forth, it's all heaped up as a mandala and offered this as a pure field. So this is the visualization in place for offering the mandala. The Buddha himself has said in the Prakshimottara Sutra, do not commit any negative action. Complete only perfect virtue. Subdue your mind thoroughly. This is the teaching of the Buddha. This verse encapsulates the very essence of the Buddhist teachings and the Buddhist practice. So the first thing that it says is do not commit any negative action. By any means, you have to stop, you have to abandon, you have to avoid as much as possible engaging in negative activities. The second one says perform perfect virtue, which means according to your capacity, as much as possible, you should establish virtue. And the virtue that you should establish should be the best quality possible. That's why it says perform perfect virtue. The third line says subdue your mind thoroughly, which indicates this gradual process of purifying, subduing the mind, making sure the mind does not fall under the influence of afflictions, does not generate attachment or hatred. So this is a gradual process. And it concludes by saying this is the teaching of the Buddha. So this is actually the essence of the teachings. This is the essence of our practice. Therefore, in our practice, there are two elements that become very important. First of all, from now on, we should not engage in any negativities. We should not create any new negative actions. And in terms of those that we have already committed in the past, already have been accumulated, it's very important that we confess and purify them. So address both those of the past and make sure we don't create any ones in the future, any future ones. So we talk about negativity, avoiding negativity, purifying negativity, and it's very important to, first of all, understand what negativity is. We need to be able to recognize it. So we talk about non-virtuous actions. Usually we give the list of the 10 non-virtuous actions. 3 of them are physical activities: killing, stealing, sexual misconduct. There are 4 types of verbal activities. which is telling lies, using divisive speech, using harsh words, and engaging in idle gossip. And finally, we have 3 mental activities, which is harmful intent, covetousness, and wrong views. So we are giving this list of 10 non-virtuous actions. It doesn't mean that this is all exclusive, all inclusive. There are many more other negative actions that are included within that. So when we talk about engaging negativity, it means that we are motivated by afflictions, and under the influence of afflictions, we engage certain activities, certain karmic paths. And by carrying out these types of activities, we cause harm. This harm is caused to ourselves and is caused to others. It is immediate harm that is experienced right now, and also it is future harm that will have to be experienced. So, for example, in our case, we engage in the wrong type of non-virtuous activity. We create a lot of suffering and difficulty for ourselves right now, but also we will have to experience suffering and difficulties in our future rebirths when we, as a result, fall into a lower migration. We mentioned negative activities of the body and the speech and the mind. From amongst these 3 categories, the most important thing are mental negative activities, because ultimately it is the mind, it is the motivation that we have that activates the body and the speech to behave in a particular way. So it is the mind that controls all this. Okay, so as we say, a list of 10, but there are many more others not listed, not enumerated in this list. So this recognition or this differentiation between what is virtue and what is non-virtue, Rinpoche says it's not something that I made this up. The Buddha himself has explained this very clearly in the sutra. So in the sutras, the Buddha explains what type of activities. He gives a list of 10 virtuous activities and says, if you do this and this and this is virtue. And the result of virtuous actions will be happiness. And then he mentions the 10 non-virtuous actions. So he says, if you do this and this and this constitutes non-virtue, and the result of this will be unhappiness. Whether it is unhappiness immediately experienced in this life, or whether it is unhappiness and suffering you will experience in the future, this will be the result. So what constitutes virtue and non-virtue, and the results of which are very clearly described and identified by the Buddha himself in the sutras. We use the term virtuous and non-virtuous actions, or virtuous and non-virtuous karma, so action or karma. So in order to understand this, first of all, we have to understand that we must have an individual who is the agent. So the agent will engage a particular activity, and then depending on the motivation, if there is a good motivation and they engage in an activity that is beneficial, then they engage in, or they create, virtuous karma, virtuous activity. Other times, influenced by negative motivation, they engage in activities that cause harm. So these harmful activities are called non-virtuous karma, non-virtuous activities. So in the course of a day, the 24 hours of the day, from the time that we rise up in the morning till the time we go to bed again, we engage in thousands, tens of thousands of activities. And depending on the motivation that we have, we could say that engage in some virtuous activities, some non-virtuous activities, and in some neutral activities. So the motivation is the one that moves the body, that moves the speech, right? Is the one that gives the movement. In our case, unfortunately, the majority of the activities we create every day are negative activities. Now, in the course of the day, the amount of virtuous activity that we create are very few. whether it is the case that we don't have the time to engage in these activities, or whether we have the time but unfortunately we don't have the interest, so we do not strive in virtuous activities. Whatever is the case, the amount of virtuous activities we create during a day are very few. We create a lot of neutral activities, and then again, as we said, a lot of negative activities. So as we say, if we compare the amount of positive activities and negative activities we perform in a day, the negative activities are much more, the positive ones are much less. And if we see that, if we multiply the numbers in terms of how much we did in a month, or how much we did in a year, how much we did in the entire course of our lives, it will become evident that in terms of negative activities, we have a huge accumulation. They are strong negative actions. In terms of the positive, virtuous activities, the accumulation is very weak, the numbers are very small, and the activities themselves are not strong, they are weak. Okay, and then if we look at what we did in our past lives, again, the non-virtues in our past lives are more. So the thing is that once we go through this life, eventually we must proceed to the next life. There will be an end to this life. Definitely in Buddhism, we believe in past and future lives. There are a lot of religious systems and philosophies who believe in past and future lives. Again, there are some who do not. Definitely we do. So we say that once you take a rebirth in this life, at the end there will be a death, and then we will proceed in the next life. Now, what will determine what sort of rebirth we have, unfortunately, it is not in our hands. We're not in control. That thing is controlled due to karma, due to our activities. And as we can see, if we have accumulated all this negativity and we have not purified it, it is terrifying to see how we will end up in our next life. It's almost we are at the gate of the hells and the lower migrations. Okay, so if we consider all the negativity we have accumulated in this life, plus all the negativity we carry from our past lives, and we are in this very dangerous situation of being about to be reborn in one of the lower migrations, then of course the question arises, is there any method, is there anything I can do about it to avoid this? And yes, there is a method, and the method is confession and purification. As we say, there are many actually methods for purification. Today we are going to go through the ritual of receiving the Jenang of Vajrasattva. So having received the Jenang, we can engage in meditation and recitation of the Vajrasattva practice. That's a very strong purification method. Other purification methods are meditating on bodhicitta, meditating on the view of emptiness, or reciting other dharanis and long mantras. Now, we mention here meditation on bodhicitta as a powerful method. It's actually very powerful. One of the great benefits of bodhicitta is that even by meditating for a minute on bodhicitta, you can purify negativity in this life and negativity you have accumulated in your past lives. So it's a very powerful type of method for purification. So whatever method we engage for purification, and we mentioned different methods here, either Vajrasattva or reciting a mantra or meditating on bodhicitta, emptiness, and so forth, purification needs to have the 4 opponent powers complete. If the 4 opponent powers are complete, then this will be effective purification. So these 4 opponent powers are the power of the basis, the power of repudiation, the power of restraint, and the power of employing the antidote. So if 4 opponent powers are present in whatever method of purification you employ, then negativity that is grave is said to be minimized. Negativity that is small can be completely eradicated. And if we continue to do it every day with continuity, then we can completely eliminate from the root, completely eradicate negativity. So just to introduce those briefly, the first one is the power of the basis. When we talk about the power of the basis as one of the 4 opponent powers, this actually includes 2 objects, you could say. One object is the 3 jewels, and the other object is sentient beings. This is because we create negativity in relation to both of those. For example, we might show disrespect to the 3 jewels, or we might deny the existence of the 3 jewels, and so forth. So to overcome negativity in relation to the 3 jewels, what we do is we go for refuge to the 3 jewels, we make offerings to the 3 jewels, and so forth. Then, in terms of sentient beings, we create negativity because we might be hostile towards sentient beings, we might be competitive, we have jealousy, we antagonize others, and so forth. So to overcome negativity towards sentient beings, what we do is we meditate on love, on compassion, and bodhicitta. So this describes the basis, the power of the basis. The second power, the second opponent power, is the power of repudiation. Repudiation here refers to generating regret for some negative action we have done. So we've done something and we recognize it as being negative, and we think, oh, what I did is inappropriate. It will cause harm to me and others. It will cause harm in this life, and in the future lives, it will throw me into the lower migrations. So just having that immediate regret for recognizing the activity as being something inappropriate, it becomes one of the powers. The third one is the power of restraint, and this has to do with our determination that says from now on, I am not engaging in this type of activity. I'm not repeating that fault again. So you restrain your mind for engaging in the future. The last one is the power of fully employing the antidote. So the power of the antidote here can refer to any virtuous activity that you engage in order to purify your negativity. So it could be anything. For example, receiving an initiation, or reciting a mantra, or any other virtuous activity that you think, I'm doing this to purify my negativity. So today we will be receiving the Jenang of Vajrasattva, and having received this mantra and this blessing to do the practice, if you continuously engage in that practice, and let's say recite the mantra 21 times every day continuously without a break, this has the power to stop the increasing effect of negativity. Because once we create a negative action, unless we purify it, the negativity multiplies. So let's say that you killed an insect today, so you have the negativity of killing 1. If you don't do something about it, by tomorrow it will be 2. The day after it will be 4. The day after it will be 8. After that it will become 16. After that it will become 32, and so forth, 64. And it keeps going, it keeps increasing every day. So to stop that increasing effect, we can recite the mantra 21 times every day, and we just keep a lead to it. And the other thing is that, of course, if we accumulate a much bigger number, like 100,000, it is said that even root downfalls can be purified. Every deity has its own speciality, you could say, and here the speciality of Vajrasattva is that it can help us purify negativity. As for Rinpoche, today he will be offering us the Jenang of Vajrasattva. We have 2 Jenangs. One is Vajrasattva with concert that comes from the collection of texts called Surka Gyatsa. So Rinpoche has received that Jenang from that collection. Also, he has received the collection, the yellow Vajrasattva from the other collection of this initiation, the Richung Gyatsa. He has received these Jenangs, has performed the action permitting retreat, And of course, today he has performed the self-generation and the front generation, and therefore he is in a position fully qualified to give the Jenang of these two aspects of the deity. So it is important that we mention those things because the lineage of receiving the Jenang must be proven to be unbroken and go all the way back to Buddha Shakyamuni. We should be able to trace it and say, I received it from this Lama, and this Lama received it from this Lama, and go all the way back into the origin and reach Buddha Shakyamuni. It is very important to do like this when we talk about Dharma, and especially when we talk about this, the blessings, the initiations, and so forth, that we can establish that this is an authentic lineage. So we can establish that it descended from Buddha Shakyamuni, it reached India, from India it reached Tibet, and it has reached to the present day through an unbroken, pure lineage. So that was an introduction to really explain what is the special characteristic of this specific deity of Vajrasattva, whose Jenang we will be receiving today. And this is because if you understand the benefits and the special features of this deity, then obviously your faith and your interest and your aspiration will be very much in focus, will be enhanced. And the more faith you have, the more benefit you will derive from this Jenang. So although already people who have come here, of course you have come here because you have interest to receive this, but once you understand the special features, then your faith increases, your interest increases, and therefore you will receive the maximum benefit. This is why Khen Rinpoche has dedicated the first part of this event to explaining through this introduction. We will now proceed with the actual ritual of the Jenang. So the first part is, from our part, we have to request and say, please bestow on me the Jenang. And we do this by repeating the words of the Lama. So be ready to repeat. Okay, so we have received the Jenang of yellow Vajrasattva, and also we have received the Jenang of white Vajrasattva with consort. Now, the important thing is that with those Jenangs, in both cases, we received the transmission of the mantra to be recited, the 100-syllable mantra. So it is very powerful and very important to engage in this practice. Please recite the 100-syllable mantra as much as you can. If you can if you can perform the action-permitting retreat, that is a retreat that in which you accumulate 100,000 recitation of the mantras, that indeed would be excellent. But even if you cannot accumulate that many mantras in a retreat, it is very good if every day without any break, so every day with continuity, if you can keep reciting the mantra 21 times. Again, if you find that the 100-syllable mantra is too much to manage, we have a shorter version of this, which is just Om Vajrasattva Hum. Whichever mantra you think you can manage, please, it's very important to recite it. Engage this practice every day. Otherwise, Rinpoche is saying, what was the whole purpose of giving you the transmission of the mantra that makes it powerful, that gives you the siddhis? Once you have received this, it's very good to engage in the recitation. So it's something you can pick up the mantra and recite it as you're driving, as you're waiting, when you're in the queue, whatever activity gives you a little bit of breathing space, you can do the mantra. Please do it every day. So today you have received two of those images, the large one for the white Vajrasattva, the smaller one for the yellow Vajrasattva. Very important to treat those images with respect. Place them somewhere high in your place, not a low place, not somewhere where it's dirty. Very important to treat it properly. Then at the very end, we recite a line that says, I will do exactly as the chief Lama has told me to do. So when we make this promise, it means I will keep the commitment. Now, there is no specific mantra recitation commitment. No one told you you have to do that many every day. However, it was advised that it's very good to do it every day. And the second thing, we have generated the mind of bodhicitta that is such a noble mind. It is very good to keep going, cultivating familiarity with this mind, because it is something which is very precious and very noble. So in terms of your commitment, keep cultivating a nice, good, positive state of mind and recite the mantra as much as you can. So there will be some other activities, but we're going to abbreviate here and stop here. We have, because we engaged 2 Jenangs, we went a little bit over time, not too much, just half an hour. So hopefully it was not too much. The thing is that even though we went over time, this was an incredible opportunity. Rinpoche said through my own effort, but also through your participation, through your faith, through your visualization, we have achieved great benefit. The great benefit is that a lot of purification already took place today. So thank you very much for coming and participating, making this effort to come today. That was a holiday. You could have stayed home, right? But you came here and made the effort. So that is something very valuable, very precious. Thank you very much for coming here. So we're going to conclude with a short Thanksgiving mandala. Okay, so as we offer the mandala, also please make your dedication. So dedicate for the benefit of the teachings, dedicate for the benefit of all sentient beings, dedicate that all sentient beings be happy, all sentient beings be able to purify their negativity, especially. Okay, so dedication together with the mandala.